Think about separating out into libraries. So one of the problems you might get is you have a single purpose, you have a large project, and it can only be used for that particular use case. The moment you want to start another project, could be for the same company, you're then starting from scratch pretty much with very little reusability from one project to the other. You'll notice there is a command you can use that will ditch putting the normal project in. I'm leaving it in there, and the reason being that if you do leave it there, similar to places like Angular Material, you can build your documentation for your library as well. So certainly for our branding projects, we have documentation to go with it. So when a new developer comes in, they can see the docs for how that branding library actually gets used rather than having to find reference points within the code. So it's nice to leave the original one in there, but you can also just ditch having the main project in there.
I love it that people are following along. This is brilliant.
Yeah, that's good. So that gives me an initial Angular project. I can go into that now, and I can see all the files I'd see. So if you were with us a month ago, you'll have already done this step where we did a new project, and we have something there.
Oh, wow.
So at this point, I have two options. I can hit npm start, and it would start up the main project, but I wouldn't see the library in there. What I want to do is I actually want to build the library. So to build the library, it's the standard ng build command, but now I'm going to pass in the name of the library I use, which I call it design at the top, so ng generate library design. It's created the library, and I can do an ng build with just calling it design. The other thing you can do to this as well, so normally if I'm going to work on a project locally, a library locally, I want to have changes and be able to detect that in my main app. So we're going to build a second app to go with this in a second, and we want to pull the changes as we make them to the library through to the main app. So I'm going to add on to this -- watch. So you can do that with ng build normally, but it'll just watch the changes in this library. And I'm going to do another ng new now, and I'm going to create our main application. So I'll just say ng new my app, or my project, to avoid the naming that Angular tends to use. So now I've got two projects effectively, one which I'm going to use as my library and one which is going to be my application. So we'll do some work within the application and we're going to pull the library in, and I'll show you how to pull the library into your project. So you can see the project's up and running. It's not currently using my library, so there's no reference to it. So one of the things I'll need to do is go in and reference it now. If I had deployed to npm, so it comes again built in with the package R and stuff when you create the library. So you can do an npm publish from the project packager as well.
Yeah, the dev dependency will be
down here, the dev dependency, that will do an npm deploy for you to make it available. But we haven't done that. So instead I want to reference it locally. So to reference it locally, I go to my project, so the one I've created that I want my application to be.
Why do you not want to publish it when you're developing?
Well, for starters, this is a demo environment. It's not like something I want to leave out on npm because there's no way of deleting from npm anymore. You used to be able to. I think you've got to actually send them a message these days, explain exactly why you want it deleted. It becomes very convoluted because obviously a couple of years ago someone removed a core library and broke, I don't know, thousands of projects for about 24 hours because a core library that everyone was depending on got deleted off npm. So you can no longer delete off npm, so that's one reason.
Yeah. The reason why I was alluding to that, I was just going to say that when you're developing, because you're making changes in your library all the time, you don't want to keep publishing. Even if it was a published library, you don't want to keep publishing and so on. You don't want people to see all your changes. So Andrew's going to show you how to reference it locally, so it's just like, it's almost like it's in the same project, like it's there.
Obviously, normally I would have an actual npm project name in here, and it would probably be the one that I've got from my other project, the library project, because typically what you should be doing is in this here, this packagation should be giving it the name you want to deploy it as. So if I was actually doing this for real, I would probably be calling this something like CodeMortals /design, and that would become the CodeMortals design when it goes up to npm. But when I'm referencing it locally, I can actually call it whatever I like. I'm going to use the same name just for now, so I'll use CodeMortals /design here. To reference it, I'm just going to reference it locally. So I'm going to go up a directory to find it. I'm then going to go into the project. We'll then go into the dist folder. So again, if I just go back to this project, you'll see there's a dist folder here, a design folder. So that's where it's created the bundle that can be used. That would be what got sent to npm normally. And I can save that. So that's one part, is to reference the project so it becomes a dependency that's available. The second part, because I want to pick up the live changes as the project changes, in Angular JSON, you need to also locate the architect build options section, and we add another one in here called preserve symlinks. This is why I like WebStorm, it finds them all for me. And we have to add that one in. So that will allow, when changes occur, it will remember where they are and pull them through correctly. So those are the two things you need to do to be able to run it locally.
This one you can commit, but the other one in package JSON you don't want to commit because you'll actually want to include the actual proper reference to on NPM.
Yeah, so when you're making the changes locally, obviously if I was to commit that package JSON now and deploy it to my CI, it's never going to find that local reference because it hasn't got that project. So I need to make sure it references the normal kind of version 1.0.0 or whatever I've deployed out to NPM. I need to install it now. So now that I've added it to NPM, because I didn't do it from the command line, I need to install it. So I just let that run for a moment. It'll pull in the one locally. It's obviously checking all the other dependencies too.
And then this is when the fun starts happening.
And now I can do an NPM start again. Okay, now when we created the library, Angular kindly gives us demonstration. So it actually has inside the lib folder here an initial design component, which they've called lib design as their selector. I should now be able to go into the app for the main project, delete everything that we're seeing there and save that. So if I save that now, the page goes blank, and then I should be able to say I want to use the lib design. And if you look, what it also does in the Angular module, it's added the design module into here for me. And now if I do go back to my page, files will save, and there it is, design works pulled through from the library. So